want to welcome everybody to this week's YBMcast Tennessee. This should be a fun week. We've got somebody with a lot of insights on a lot of different aspects of baseball, softball, recruiting, all kinds of different stuff. But Jeff Serbin is our guest this week, head coach at Centennial Softball. It helps me out tremendously with the 16U Premier team out of Midland, Tennessee. And then has a son who is one of the top prospects in Middle Tennessee. But rather than me talk, Coach Serbin, introduce yourself. Let everybody kind of know your background and how in the world you got to be where you are now.
I appreciate you having me, Baron. I've started playing baseball probably when I was 7 years old up in Northwest Indiana. And so I've been playing ever since. Played in high school, played in college at St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, Indiana. I was able to play in the College World Series Division II, won our conference for the first time in school's history. Was able to attend spring training camp in 1989 with the Chicago White Sox. And then from there, became a police officer. Then started teaching in 1998 at Mount Juliet High School, and started coaching baseball with Coach Gary McFarland, one of the probably legends in Middle Tennessee. And then Coach Purvis, Mark Purvis, took over and helped him for a year or two. He's won state championship in Watertown, been several state championships at Mount Juliet High School, where coached a lot of good players there at Mount Juliet. A lot of them went to Vanderbilt, and several of them are in the major leagues right now. One's a pitching coach with the Phillies and Caleb Cotham. So got to be around some great players. Howard and Michael Farmer, Colorado Rockies and Montreal Expos. Got to catch them when I was playing in the semi-pro circuit in Gary, Indiana. Chuck Alexander played in the Cleveland Indians organization. And thinking about Chuck now, he's got two sons in the major leagues. One just made the 40-man roster with their Arizona Diamondbacks, and Blaze Alexander, who's doing pretty well. And then C.J. Alexander, his in AAA, and I think he's already hit 3 home runs. And so been around a lot of great players, and now some of the kids or people that I play with have kids that are now going that route. So I've been around a long time. So it's been took over softball and been coaching softball since 2004. So I've been doing that for 20 years now. So been everywhere.
Well, I know you won't say it, so I'll say it, but that softball team that you've got has become an absolute powerhouse. And I wrote it on my list of notes. If you're in Middle Tennessee and you've not gone to one of these softball games, it's impossible not to be energized by the time you leave that place. I mean, the energy that you keep up, the girls keep up, is incredible. And I don't know how you capture that. I don't know how you do it, but it's fascinating to watch.
Well, first, coming from Hendersonville, I was there for 13, 14 years and was able to win a district championship there and go to a sub-state, played Dixon County, and probably had one of the best pitchers in Middle Tennessee at Dixon County. And she went on to change the program in Belmont. And can't think of Brooklyn's last name right now, but she was fabulous. And then was able to come here to Centennial. We moved out this way in Arrington, and my first year here at Centennial, we went 0-22. This program probably hadn't won 10 games in probably a total of 5 or 6 years. So from where we started then to where we're now, we've been to 2 sub-state appearances. We've won a district title last year. So you just got to get the girls to buy in, and they have. So it's been fun here. Girls are great. And so it's just buying in, and, their energy energizes me because I've been doing this a long time, and it's I need a little energy every now and then.
I understand it. I get it completely. The podcast, we focus mainly on youth baseball, mainly at the younger ages. And I think you've got a really good insight to this that I think people would want to hear, because your son, Braden, is a fantastic pitcher. Going to be one of the top prospects in Middle Tennessee once that magic August 1st date hits, and everybody can actually talk to him. August 1st, for folks who don't know, August 1st going into your junior year is kind of that magic date when coaches can talk to you, regularly and call you and email you and all that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, Braden is now 16. He's on our 16U Premier team. And you're in that dugout with me, and we're belly up on the rail, and we get to hear all these stories, which is incredible considering all the past that you've got going on. So that's a fun time for me and you. But think back to when Braden was, golly, 8 and 9 and 10, kind of going through it. How have you seen summer baseball just at the youth level change since that started to where we are now?
Well, going back to even further than that, we didn't have travel baseball when I was growing up. It was you played American Legion or you didn't play. So I was fortunate enough to be able to play when I was 15 because I think 16 was the limit, and I was just able to sit the bench and learn and grow. And I don't think we do that very much anymore. We don't teach the basics or we don't teach the fundamentals a whole lot. And now everyone has a team. So it's kind of, in my opinion, it's watered down a little bit. But I know there's some great coaches out there that love the game and want to teach fundamentals. But it has changed. Used to you just stay around here and play local tournaments. And now these 7, 8, 9-year-olds are going to California, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina. And, that's the biggest part that's changed. I think the younger groups are traveling a whole lot more than we even did. I think at that time we probably went to Pigeon Forge and played in the Cal Ripken when we were young. That might have been the furthest trip we went to. It was Cookeville or, Nashville in Game 7 or anywhere of those locations that we stayed at. And so I think now, is it too young? I don't know. We'll see. And, there's a lot of question right now in Major League Baseball about pitching in your UCLs, and everyone's coming up with different, arguments. The ball seams are not very big on a ball, or the time count now. And, you have to wonder back when these guys started playing, how many pitches they thrown from the time they were in Little League till going through college or the minor leagues. I mean, no telling how many guys have they pitched a number of pitches during their career.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. We had a guest on last week talking about, when's it too early to travel, when's the right time to travel. And I don't think there's a right answer, but I would agree with you that there's a lot of travel teams, especially more than when I grew up and you grew up, because there was only 2 or 3 just teams you could play on. Period. It was Little League or AAU or American Legion or whatever it was. But you run into, how often do you use the kids? How many kids do you carry on a team? How often do they pitch? How many pitches are they throwing? And I know Braden has always pitched well, and I assume that you've coached him since he started, and that we've had this other question. Yep, and we've had this question because you've done it in a way that is very kind of it's admirable, and it's unique because a lot of kids will stop listening to dads. But I've seen you two in the dugouts, and he still has unbelievable respect for when you talk. And when you speak, he listens to what you're saying. And what is the secret, man? How in the world did you do that? Because I've got a 10-year-old who every once in a while shuts me off.
I just think that, how much I've been around the game and the people that I've been around the game with. So I think he understands that. I think he's a mature 16-year-old, but even that, I think he really wants it, and I think he gets it too. And it kind of makes you proud that he still listens to you. But I've never been a daddy coach. I've been on him harder than anybody I've ever been before. I've kicked him out of a dugout because he wasn't doing the right things, and so to me, I don't think anybody could ever say I'm play daddy ball because that's never been as long as I've been coaching him and any other kids, I would coach him like I would coach your kid hard. And I do that with my girls. I coach them hard, and at times I tell them, listen to what I say and not how I say it. And so I think I've grown as a coach over those years because growing up it was, it was hard. You got on board with what he's doing or you quit, and quitting wasn't an option for me. So I think
Yeah.
I coach Braden just like anybody other kid, and like I said, I think he understands it. And you know, with you and Charlie Payne and Joe Rodriguez, the guys that I trust with him, and so he gets to bounce around ideas from other coaches, and you know, at times I may not be right or something that I can't see, and you or Charlie or Joe, any of those guys come in and say, hey, let's take a look at that, and there's no ego for me. I want my kid to succeed, and I want your kid to succeed. And so I think we have to bounce ideas off everybody.
Yep, I would agree with that. And I think, we coach very similar. We want our guys to give back. We want them to kind of understand. It's the same thing. If I can teach something, then maybe I learn it a little bit faster than if I was just being taught it myself. So we've got a lot of 16-year-old kids on our team specifically who will come down and help out at practices with the 10U guys or even the 9U guys. They'll come down and they'll kind of basically coach and take over. They'll say the same things that you and I say, but it's a lot more effective sometimes when a 16-year-old is telling a 10-year-old. And Braden is one of the 4 or 5 guys that we come to these practices all the time, and to listen to him talk, he takes it in. The kid understands the game, and that's what we're trying to coach. Is we want these 16-year-old kids to understand the game, the insides, the philosophy behind it, the mechanics, the strategy, what's going to happen next. And if they're not open to it, they won't listen. And Braden certainly is. So you've done a heck of a job with him.
Well, I appreciate that. I think today, a
Uh,
lot of kids ask why, and I think we
mhm.
as coaches got to be prepared to tell them why and what we see they're doing or what we see in strategy. And the why part, is even more prevalent today. It's not a disrespect from younger generation, but they want to know why. They want to learn just as much as we do. So
Right.
I think in that retrospect, I think Braden has always been taught to give back, and these little kids look up to you no matter how old you are. And I even tell my classes that says you got younger brothers and sisters. They're watching you everything you do, and they're going to learn from you. So you're the second parent around, or you're the secondary coach around because someone's always watching.
Yep. Say it all the time. Somebody's always watching you. It may be the little kid. It may be the college recruiter. You have no idea who's in the stands, but somebody's watching you before the game, after the game, how you interact with your parents. I mean, just so many things that go into it, and it's a big part. Somebody always has eyes on you. Speaking of eyes on you, showcases and camps, because I know Braden's done a lot, and I know a lot of people have questions of what age should I start that? When should I go there? Is it truly a case by case basis that you've seen, or when did you feel it was time for Braden to start going to the showcases and camps and show who he was?
Well, when Braden decided to be a PO only, that was probably a moment for us to say, yeah, this is probably the direction he needs to go because he's always pitched or caught or and played outfield or first base. But when we talked to several trainers and several people in around the medical community, and it's tough being a pitcher and a catcher after you reach about 14, 15 years old. So Braden decided to be a PO. And, once it's not very much velo for me and for him either. It's secondary pitches. In every camp that we've been to Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Appalachian State. I'm missing one. MTSU. They always talked about secondary pitches. It says we can work with your velo. We'll get that when you get on campus, and a weight room, and the nutrition part was even more important a lot to these college coaches. And they said secondary pitches. So you develop a curveball, or you develop a changeup, or a cutter, or what they call now maybe a sweeper. And so once, and Braden has been pretty good on developing a secondary pitch, and his velo is about 86 now, and but his curveball has always been pretty much on point. He's developed a splitter that he loves throwing. He can throw that for a strike now. And so when you go to these camps, I think you got to be prepared and ask yourself, is your kid really going to be at this moment when he reaches 16 or 17? Because some of the camps I've been to, that we've been to, that these kids out there, I know they want to come and be a part of it, but are you doing your kid a disservice by putting him out there and you're looking at some of the best? Um, Now, camps themselves to learn for these younger kids, to me, that's awesome. I think that's the best thing that we can do as parents is send them to camps. They can play in the summertime. I understand that part too, and compete and learn how to compete and be a great teammate and things like that. But the camps we've really enjoyed as far as the recruiting process, because some of the camps we've been to even walked us around campus, got to see the campus, got to talk about the education part, the financial aid part, and now you got this NIL stuff that uh, is going to be new to us. And so um, North Carolina doesn't have a working agreement for our Tennessee Promise, but Ole Miss does, and I think Kentucky does because they're a bordering state. When we were at the University of Missouri, they do too. So they give the Tennessee Promise money as well. And how you fit in a campus or how you fit with a team is important. But also, more important is that's coming out of your pocket financially. So you better have, some questions about that as well.
Yep, absolutely. I think those are all really great points, and patience I think is key. And I know that kids definitely do not have as much patience as we want them to have sometimes when it comes to recruiting. Parents, for the most part, have even less patience. We're talking about kids are 12 and 13 and wonder, when do I need to start, going to USA Showcase and this camp over here and this camp over here, instead of just let's relax and before we go and show bad numbers, before we go and show somewhere we should not be yet because we're not ready, we're not mature enough, our body's not ready enough. Why don't we have a little bit more patience until we're ready to go? So this August 1st date line has been pushed back has fixed a little bit of that, but still it showcases the camps you can have those conversations, and that's why a lot of kids are going now.
Yep. And so, every camp that we've been to, the head coach is coming over to watch everybody throw off the mound. It wasn't just Braden, but it was all of them. And so he also gets feedback from the college coaches. Hey, I think your shoulder needs to be more this direction, or your plant foot needs to have a little more uh, conviction to it, or whatever it was. So you're getting coached up by a college coach at that point. So I think that's important as well, getting that feedback from that coach. And so we've been really blessed. Every college coach that we've been in contact with at a camp has talked to us, and and that's pretty awesome. I mean, Tony Vitello at UT was probably uh, the the biggest person at that camp, but he interacted with all the guys, and he just didn't show up and say, "Hey, thanks for being here," and leave. Like I know some basketball coaches have done that in back when I was playing, but every baseball coach that we've come in contact, head coach, has stayed at the camp, has talked to the kids, get that interaction, and to me that's the best part that you could do for your kid is just take, starting maybe your freshman year and just go to a camp and see the competition that you're up against and see, hey, I need to be in the weight room more. And when Braden went to go pitch this fall against Walter State, they were taking BP when I walked up and we walked up. And I'm telling you, I was scared for them. Those guys, they're not guys. Those dudes are dudes. And Walter State was, I mean, there's guys 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 230, 240. And you're going to put my son out there who's 5'10" at the time and weighed 155 and fastball 75, or not 80, about 82, 83, 84. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. But he pitched 2 innings and got uh, 3 ground ball outs and 2 pop flies, and he had a strikeout. So it was cool to see him to compete, but I know that he was shaking in his pants. 'cause I was.
Yeah.
But so
Yep.
stuff like that, getting out there and competing, you kind of want to keep your kid at. I know there's arguments keeping your kid at the age group, but I think for Braden and for me, I always played up when I was growing up, and I think that's helped Braden as well, that he's gotten to pitch for these national teams or the Royal Scout team, who these guys are 18, 19 years old, and their bodies are almost complete, and so that to us, that's been a great experience, getting to play up and challenging him to be a better pitcher. You just can't throw an 83, 84 mile an hour fastball down the middle, expect to strike people out. You've got to learn how to pitch. You've got to control your secondary pitches, and I think he's done that pretty well with the coaches he's had in his life so far.
I think so. I think that's all fantastic. Bringing it back to youth level baseball, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. There are so many high schools around Middle Tennessee, and I'm positive it's all over Tennessee and other places of the country, but there are so many high schools that will offer these camps. And I would encourage these kids to go to those camps and just attend them and be around these kids. There's colleges that'll do the same. It's just camps for youth kids, for guys just to kind of learn the game more. It's just very small details that we don't even think about anymore, that I don't know what my 10-year-olds don't know. We got the 16-year-old team, and I have a pretty good understanding of what they do know, but you'll kind of go back and forth between the two, and you'll realize, okay, well, we've never covered first and third defensive strategy. We've never gone over that at 10U. But when they go to these camps, it's great for the little guys to interact with the older guys and understand this is where this game can go if you wanted to. And look how much fun they're having. And then the older guys will also understand that same thing. Look at these little 9, 10, and 11-year-old kids running around like without a care in the world. That's what the game was meant to be. That was fun. So whether it's a high school, and I would encourage all the high schools, because I know a bunch of ours do them. Centennial does it for sure. Attend them. They're not expensive. I would do it.
Absolutely. We do a camp for softball, and it's probably one of my highlights of my year when we get to host little kids. We have 20, 30 little girls from kindergarten to seventh grade, and then it's not me who basically running the camp. It's my teammate or my team running the camp, because I want them to get an understanding how to interact with younger kids, and also to let them know that they're going to come to the game one time and they're going to look up to you. They're going to watch you. And so even baseball, Braden would go to these camps, and you meet new friends. You have a relationship probably at that camp. Hey, you coming again this year? Yeah. Or now when they got to middle school, they're facing each other when they get to middle school baseball. And it's you want to beat your buddy, but it's also at the end of the game, you're shaking hands, hugging it out, or whatever it may be. And then you get to high school, and they're still doing the same thing. And so that's the cool thing about it. You meet new friends. And I can remember a kid that I played against, and he was from South Africa, and he came into the White Sox organization as well. And I wish we had done a better job of communicating, and we didn't have cell phones back then, or even email back then. And so I wish, because we hung out pretty much for 2 days straight, and it was just great talking to him and learning how his country baseball is over there, and you just talk baseball. And I think any kid now that has aspirations of playing high school baseball, especially 6th and 7th grade, go to the camp, meet the head coach, and introduce yourself. Or can't be bashful, not no more. It's this is, every player is getting bigger and stronger, younger and younger, and so I think you got to take things on your own and get in there and mix it up.
Absolutely. Coach, I know you're up against it. I really appreciate you taking time out from teaching. I know you had a little time for us, and you squeezed us in. I really, really appreciate that a lot. Coach, you got anything else before we head out?
I appreciate it. Just, all these little kids out there, keep the dream. Never tell somebody you can't do it, because that's what I was always told I was too small or not strong enough. And, there's nothing bigger than your heart. And so play with your heart and, just give it all you got until you can't no more.
Well said. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Coach Serbin. We'll see everybody next week. Another episode of YBMcast Tennessee. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. Everybody knows how to do that. We really appreciate that. It helps out a lot. We will see y'all next week.